If you've been to the gas station lately, you know these prices are brutal. Okay, maybe not quite an arm and a leg, but look at this. GasBuddy.com says the average price of gasoline in Greensboro is $3.19 per gallon. That is down about 4 pennies from last month, but up $1.19 from last year. Enough to really make people stop and notice.
We're just trying to curb spending in other areas so that we can afford to fill up our tank.
It was way too expensive.
The feeling it has to do with Biden, to be honest.
Well, President Biden does have a plan. He announced that today to drive down gas prices. What he's going to do is actually dig into the Bank of America, the bank of all of our resources, this big reserve that we have. It is a huge stockpile we have in place just in case there are major supply chain shortages because of something like a natural disaster. Or the situation we find ourselves in right now. Biden says we want to release 50 million barrels of this stockpile. For perspective, that's about a 1/12 of the 600 million barrels of our oil in our national stockpile right now. Still, that's more than 50 million barrels, enough to create almost 1 billion gallons of gasoline, 500 million gallons of diesel, and about 200 million gallons of jet fuel. The White House says all of this should start hitting the market in mid to late December. And the president says it's not a long-term solution, but it will help for now.
And while our combined actions will not solve the problem of high gas prices overnight, it will make a difference. It will take time, but before long, you should see the price of gas drop where you fill up your tank. And in the longer term, we will reduce our reliance on oil as we shift to clean energy. But right now, I will do what needs to be done to reduce the price you pay at the pump.
Other countries plan to release their reserves too. The United Kingdom, China, Japan, and South Korea all will release reserves to lower prices in their countries. The president says he negotiated that deal during the G20 summit last month. Now, Patrick DeHaan from GasBuddy weighed in on Twitter. He tweeted, while the move may offer some temporary relief to motorists at the pump, the long-term ramifications are less clear. OPEC may curb future production increases, offsetting a coordinated release, or maybe even cut production. OPEC has not said what they plan to do, but an economist from Wake Forest says there's still a lot to figure out here.
So from a short run perspective, like I see the price of petroleum perhaps falling for a little while. The bigger question though is how soon those refineries can get up and running to get petroleum out of the ground. We're used to them running a lot better than what they are right now.
Let's take a closer look at how gas prices even got so high in the first place. Like most things these days, it all traces back to supply chain issues. Our demand for gas far outpaces the oil supply. The good news though, prices are starting to fall.
Oil supply has lagged far behind, pushing up the price of oil to some of the highest levels in 7 years. Expect the downward trend that's just starting to gain momentum will last into early, potentially in mid-December. It could run longer than that, just depending on how supply and demand continue to fluctuate.
Other presidents have tapped into our oil reserves before. They used it during national emergencies. Now, President Barack Obama was the last one to use it, taking from the reserves in 2012 after Hurricane Isaac. President George W. Bush did the same thing in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. His father, President George H.W. Bush, withdrew from oil reserves during Operation Desert Storm. Critics of President Biden say his actions while in office have jeopardized the United States' energy independence. They say one decision in particular made us get to this point today and made us more reliant on foreign oil.
President Biden canceled our own Keystone XL pipeline, but cleared the path for a new pipeline for Vladimir Putin. The amount of Russian oil that America has to import has already nearly doubled on the Democrats' watch.
Energy industry expert and analyst Stacey Morris says President Biden canceling the pipeline did nothing to cut current oil production. She also says it's unrealistic to expect the country to produce all of its own oil. Morris said by that standard, energy independence for the U.S. would be practically unattainable for the foreseeable future. We went to the U.S. Energy Information Administration to check on U.S. energy production in recent years. It says the country actually produced more oil than it imported in 2019 and 2020. Those were the first times that's happened since 1957. But the U.S. still relied on imports from other countries to maintain its oil supply. The White House says oil and gas companies deserve a big chunk of the blame here for high gas prices. It says the cost of unfinished gas dropped more than 5% last month, while consumer prices increased 3%. President Biden sent a letter to the FTC asking them to investigate oil companies. Now, Biden is accusing them of charging more for gas, even though it costs them less to buy it right now.
Prices at the pump have continued to rise, even as refined fuel costs go down and industry profits go up. Obviously, that's not the right correlation. If the gap between the refined fuel costs and pump prices were at typical pre-pandemic levels, then Americans would be paying nearly 25 cents less per gallon. So clearly, that's not how it should be working.
I get it. It stinks seeing high gas prices everywhere you go, but experts say you can get around that if you shop around just a little bit. You can actually find all your local prices in our app on the homepage in the traffic section. And Tiffany Craig says there are other apps to help save you money too from your phone.
Open up that app store on your phone. We're downloading freebies that can help you save money at the gas pump. Let's start with one that's arguably the most popular, Gas Buddy. You just type in a zip code and the app will show you prices at gas stations near you. Another one that works the same way, Gas Guru. This app lets you see what's near the gas station as well, if you're running errands or you get hungry. Waze, you know the app gives you directions, but it can also navigate you to the nearest station with the cheapest gas. The AAA mobile app. It's free to download, but you have to be a member to see the cheapest gas. That's according to Daniel Armbruster.
Ours is based on credit card sales, so like actual transactions at the gas station, not crowd reporting. So it's more accurate, I would say.
And finally, here's an oldie but goodie, MapQuest. You can check prices and find the cheapest gas on your route. You can also get traffic info and as a bonus, make restaurant reservations too.